Hello there, so today we're going to be talking about Carnival Cruise. Ticker symbol CCL. Now, as you're probably aware, Carnival Cruise and all cruise lines at the moment have not been allowed to sail. Carnival Cruise, you may be aware, is a stock that's currently down 59% from its 52-week high. Being not able to cruise means it's just literally sitting there burning money. So in this video, we'll look at how long it could survive for if that situation continues. We'll look at when it's likely to be able to sail again and actually start making money again. We'll look at the outlook for the stock. I'll let you know whether I'd be buying, holding or selling this particular stock. And we're also going to take a look at the shareholder benefits and see if they actually are worth making an impact on your decision as to whether to buy, hold or sell shares in Carnival Cruise Line. If you're new to this channel, welcome. My name's Andy and on this channel I like to talk about money and success. If you're interested in making, saving or investing money, please be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell, and then you'll get notified every time I release a new video. And if you enjoy this video and find it useful, please remember to hit the thumbs up because that helps the YouTube algorithm, which in turn helps me, and of course I do appreciate it. Now I need to start off with a little disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor, so this is not financial advice. This is my own thoughts and opinions on the research that I've conducted, which I will go through with you now, but you need to be responsible for your own decisions before making any investment at all. So let me start off quickly by just looking at Carnival Cruise Line. Carnival Cruise Line, it's the biggest cruise line in the world. I'll be open and honest from the outset. I'll let you know I do own shares in this stock. I bought them for £7.96 on the London Stock Exchange. And let's have a quick look at the brands that they own, because it's not just Carnival Cruise. So let's have a look at that now. So as you can see, Carnival Cruise, they own obviously Carnival Cruise Line, which has 22 ships. They own Princess, which has 16 ships. They own Holland American Line, which has 10 ships. They own Seabourn, which has 5 ships. They own Cunard, which is one that's well recognized over here in the UK. They own Aida. They own Costa. I have been on Costa cruises, and they own P&O UK as well as P&O Australia. Now I should just say now, the whole reason that I thought of making this particular video was because this time last year I was on holiday with my wife and her sister and her mother in the Caribbean, or the Caribbean, depends on how you say it. So we did the zip lining through the rainforest in St. Lucia. We went around St. Kitts. We swam with turtles in Barbados and generally had a really good time. And the cruise line we did that with was P&O, the UK P&O version, so which is owned by Carnival Cruise, this very company. I do really like Carnival Cruise. I love going on P&O. Now the reason I go on P&O, and that's my favourite brand if you like, is simple. It allows me to pay in British pounds, whereas a lot of cruise lines you get on and you have to pay in US dollars. Now of course Carnival Cruise has other cruise lines like Costa. I've been with Costa where you do pay in the dollars, but I like P&O specifically because I can pay in pounds, and also there's no tips added, there's no gratuities added, it's all included. So the price you look at is the price you pay, whereas with a lot of cruise lines what happens is at the end you get a massive bill. I mean, I went on a cruise once and I think it was like $800 or $1,000 they wanted extra at the end of the cruise. With P&O, you don't have any of that to worry about. So with that aside, P&O is my favourite cruise line of the group and of any cruise line in the world. And I do spend a lot of money going on cruises with them. So that's one of the reasons why I bought shares in them when the stock crashed. It has, of course, since massively recovered since when I bought it. So I'm well up on my position. And I'll go through more about my position in a moment, but let's first take a look at the shareholder benefits. So imagine you own shares in Carnival Cruise. What benefits could you get as a shareholder? Well, providing you own 100 or more shares, here are the benefits. As you can see, if you own 100 or more shares, you get additional on-board credit. Now it depends how long you stay on the ship for, and it depends on which one of their brands you're on. So if it's an American brand, for a 14-day or longer stay, you'd get $250. If it's a UK brand, it'd be £150. If it was a continental brand that was charging things in euros, it'd be €200. And if it was an Australian brand, it'd be 250 Australian dollars. And that's for a 14-night cruise. You can see there, it's slightly less for a 7 to 13-day cruise and less again for a 6-day cruise. So in a moment, we'll go through and I'll show you how many cruises you need to go on for your onboard extra cruise credit to actually pay for your shares and thus make your shares free if you was just to buy 100 shares at today's price. So I'll do that in a moment. But before I do, let's just look at the latest update from Carnival Cruise. Now this is taken from the Carnival Cruise website itself. Latest press release that I found here. It says the net losses were 2.2 billion and adjusted net losses of 1.9 billion for the fourth quarter of 2020. The fourth quarter of 2020 ended with 9.5 billion of cash and cash equivalents. The cash burn rate in the fourth quarter 2020 was slightly better than expected due to the timing of capital expenditures. The company has accelerated the removal of 19 less efficient ships, 15 of which have already left the fleet. The cumulative advanced bookings for the first half of 2020 are ahead of 2019, despite minimal advertising or marketing. So let's look at that. Advanced bookings for the first half of 2022 are ahead of 2019. So that shows the pent-up demand. There's a lot of people wanting to book cruises, despite them cutting back on their advertising, as I've said there. They've had lots of people wanting to book cruises. I'll be quite honest with you, myself, me and my wife, we've actually attempted to book 3 cruises now that have been booked and then we've been refunded, and they're giving us 125% cruise credit each time, which means when I eventually do get to book a cruise, it's going to cost me far less. I'm not the only person in that position. I know at least 5 other people that are in that position who have booked cruises that have then been cancelled. I also know people who have got cruises booked that at the moment have not been cancelled, so may or may not go ahead. However, I'm aware of someone who's got a cruise booked for June who's been told not to pay their balance. So we suspect that the cruise industry is expecting that they are likely to be cancelling cruises for June 2021, or they're at least not certain of them going ahead, because if they were, they'd want the people to pay the payments in advance. They've asked that they don't do that, which implies to me anyway that they're not certain of that. With that in mind, we need to think, when are they likely to be able to cruise again? And we'll go through that just in a moment. So is it worth holding shares for the shareholder benefits? Well, if you were buying on London Stock Exchange like I did, so you're buying in pounds, the cost to buy 100 shares, which is the minimum amount you need to benefit from the shareholder benefits, would cost you £1,312. So you would need to bear in mind that a 14-night cruise gives you £150 of additional benefit. You'd need to have 8.7 14-night cruises to pay for your shares, or if you were doing 7-night cruises, a 7-night cruise benefit is £60, so you'd actually need 21.8 or 22 7-night cruises, and that would fully pay for your shares. If you were buying in US dollars, then you would expect to pay $2,079 to buy your 100 shares at today's price. So bearing in mind that 14-night cruise benefit is $250, that'd be 8.3 14-night cruises to pay for your shares. Or if it was 7-night cruise benefit, you would need to be taking 20.8 cruises, so 21 7-night cruises to get your money back, basically. And that would, in turn, pay for your shares. So in essence, if you are thinking of buying and holding this long term, and if you think that the cruise company is going to survive, and bear in mind I'm going to go through that in a minute as to how long it can last closed down before it runs out of money. That's next. We're going into that next, so don't worry. But providing you think that's going to be the case, and you think actually you're into cruising and you do multiple cruises, say you do 3 cruises a year, then in 7 years, even if they're 3 7-day cruises, in 7 years, you would have paid for your shares via the onboard cruise credit you'll get just from the benefit of being a shareholder. And that's before discussing if they reinstate dividends, which, to be fair, I'm not even looking at if they reinstate dividends. They used to pay very good dividends, but the fact of the matter is they've taken on a lot of debt. I think it's going to be a long time before they reinstate dividends. That's certainly not something I am banking on them doing, but we'll discuss share price and whatnot in a moment. But certainly I wouldn't be buying this as a view to be a dividend paying stock anytime in the near future, that's for sure, because they've got a lot of debt they need to pay off first. So how long can Carnival Cruise survive not sailing? Well, as we saw earlier, the Q4 2020 monthly burn rate was 733 million. That's per month. That's that 2.2 billion that they said about earlier divided by 3. The total cash and cash equivalents had as of the end of December 2020 was 9.5 billion. And if you take that 9.5 billion and divide it by the monthly burn rate of 733 million, that gives you 12.95 months. So just under 13 months. So that would take them up to the end of January 2022 to survive on that, they would need to take on additional borrowing. So with that in mind, we need to consider when will they actually be able to start cruising again. Now in America, I forget the name of the board, but there's the board that deals with cruise lines has actually started working with them to outline a map of getting back to sea and safe cruising standards. So that's good over there. In the UK, they're closed down. Around the world, as far as I'm aware, cruise lines currently are not operating. I have been on the P&O website. They're still selling cruises as early as April 2021. But as I said earlier, they're not asking people to pay the full amount. They're just wanting a small deposit, and they're asking people to hold off paying the balance. So that tells me they're not very certain that they're going to be going ahead. And bear in mind, that's P&O, so that's a UK one, which predominantly they'll sail from the UK all around the world. So let's have a look with this in mind, what is actually happening in the UK to get things opening up again in general, because I think that will give us a good indication of when we can realistically expect the cruise lines to open again. So when will cruise ships be sailing again? More than 3.5 million people in the UK have received their first dose of the vaccine, with 324,000 doses administered in the space of 24 hours. Ministers are currently growing increasingly optimistic that they will hit their target of vaccinating the 14 million most vulnerable people with at least one dose by February the 15th. Round-the-clock injection is due to be trialled at some hospitals this month, and on Sunday the 11th of January 2021, which is the day I'm making this video, Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab said, "Our target is that by September to have offered all the adult population a first dose. If we can do it faster, then great, but that's the roadmap." So as you can see here in the UK, the government are currently intending to have everybody offered a vaccine by September 2021. And they're intending to have the high risk population to have had one dose of the vaccine by the 15th of February 2021, which is basically a month away from now. So thinking about it, the higher risk categories, once all of those have been vaccinated, my expectation is we'll continue to have restrictions and social distancing, because they're going to keep that in place, I suspect, until everybody has been vaccinated, which they're planning here in the UK at least to have that done by September. Everyone will have had one of the injections. Bear in mind, you need 2 injections to be able to be completely vaccinated. So from that point of view, it's looking at later than September, so maybe October, November time. That's when the UK should, in theory, be able to return back to normal. However, cruise lines, bear in mind, don't just open in one country like a fish and chip shop would, for example. Cruise lines require lots of countries to be able to accept them. Now, America, they've got 2 vaccines over there. China's got 2 vaccines. The EU at the moment seem to be struggling and aren't seemingly vaccinating people very quickly at all. Now, hopefully they'll get themselves into gear, but certainly a lot of the cruises that go from Southampton, which is P&O Cruises, so the UK cruise lines, they tend to go around Amsterdam, the Netherlands, Holland. They'll stop in at France, or they'll go down to Spain and Portugal. If those countries are not ready to receive visitors because they haven't had their vaccines and they haven't got everything under control yet, then those ports will still be closed. So the cruise line will stay closed. So really, it's down to when the last person is ready, or the cruise line will have to do very specific routes. Now, my wife has had a great idea. She says that the cruise line should basically do cruises where they don't go anywhere, where they just sail around and don't actually stop in any ports. And I've got to be honest, I completely agree with that. We would book that because we love our time on the ship. It's like a floating city, it's a floating spa, it's got a gym, they have everything. If you have never been on a cruise ship before, you are missing out, trust me. They are so cool. So from my point of view, I think that certainly by the time the end of the year rolls round, there will be some cruises happening again. I can't say exactly when. I am quite bullish on the cruise line sector as a whole, because I think in the long term, certainly in 5 years' time, I think my holdings are going to be doing, I mean, I'm up already, but certainly I'm going to be holding on to mine for the long term. When I bought them with the intention to hold for at least 5 years. And I'm more confident than ever that if I do, I will be well up by then, and I'm already up now. Now, between now and the next 12 months, we could go up or down. In fact, let me show you the analyst forecast for the next 12 months. So here's the analyst forecast for the next 12 months, and I've put both on there. So you've got at the top, you can see what the forecasting for the company on the New York Stock Exchange, and at the bottom I'm showing what three analysts have shown on the UK Stock Exchange. So you can see actually the UK analysts, bearing in mind this is the same company you're looking at, it's just the difference here is the analysts. So you've got 12 analysts in the US forecasting a 4.23% downside, whereas in the UK you've got 3 analysts forecasting a 10.44% downside between them. 1 buy, 1 sell, 1 hold. And on the US side, you've got 3 buy, 7 hold, and 2 sell. But all of this overall is a downside. If you actually look at it, the current share price, if you used to buy it in the US, is $20.79. And the average that them analysts are forecasting for 12 months' time is $19.91. And in the UK, if you used to buy it on the London Stock Exchange, the current share price is £13.12. And they're forecasting that'll be £11.75 is the average. When you bear that in mind, if you don't hold these already and you're thinking of buying them, you might want to wait for there to be a little dip. And when there is a little dip, that'll be the time to buy. Because the analysts certainly think over the next 12 months the prices are going to go down. And really, it's all down to how the vaccines do. And that's a decision you need to make. Are the vaccines going to be effective? I know there's been talks about different variants. We've got the English strain, which is highly contagious. You've got the Brazilian strain, I believe it is, and the South African strains. And I know there's worry that the South African strain may be immune to the vaccines, but that hasn't been confirmed or disconfirmed yet either. So who knows? If there is a strain that is immune to the vaccines, then you could expect lockdowns to carry on for much longer. And if that was the case, companies such as Carnival Cruise would need to stay afloat, no pun intended, without having any ships sailing for even longer, because there'd be longer lockdowns. And that really is a critical factor. So I wouldn't class this as a low risk stock. I'd class this as a very high risk stock. I consider this the highest risk stock in my portfolio. And I like comeback plays. If you're interested in comeback plays, I like EPR properties as a comeback play. I've made a whole host of videos about them. I'll put one up there and in the description down below, so you can have a look at that if you're interested in other comeback play stocks. I think that's a much safer comeback play stock. But I am positive on Carnival personally. But that is just me. But you have to see how the vaccines go, and I'm going to be watching and taking a view over time. Other than that, thanks so much for watching. I hope you found that helpful, and bye bye.